Hello and welcome back to the real number system. In this video, we're going to talk about addition in bases other than 10. We'll talk about mental computation, and we'll also talk about estimation. Let's get started. When we're adding in bases other than 10, we can use, well, for lack of a better example, base 10 blocks, except we maybe have base 5 or base 4. If you remember, in base 10, 10 units made a long, 10 longs made a flat, and 10 flats made a block because we were in base 10. Now, if we're in base 5, our trades work a little bit differently. In base 5, 5 units make a long, 5 longs make a flat, and 5 flats make a block. Or if we're in base 3, 3 units make a long, 3 longs make a flat. So let's look at an example. Here we have 1, 4, 4 base 5 plus 3, 4 base 5. Now 1, 4, 4 base 5 we can write as 1 flat, 4 longs, and 4 units. 3, 4 base 5 we can write as 3 longs and 4 units, similar to what we did with base 10. I'm going to add, so I have 1 flat, 7 longs, and 8 units. Now remember, in base 5, 5 units make a long. So I'm going to exchange 8 units for 1 long, and then I'll have 3 units left. Add, and we have 1 flat, 8 longs, and 3 units. Again, in base 5, it takes 5 to make a trade. So 5 longs make a flat. When I exchange 8 longs, I get 1 flat, and there are 3 longs left. Because remember, 5 longs make a flat, so 8 minus 5 leaves me with 3 longs. The same thing happened with our units. 5 units made a long. 8 minus 5 is 3 units. Add now, you have 2 flats, 3 longs, and 3 units. We write this as 233 base 5. Now notice I did not say 233. Because I'm in base 5, my place value works differently. Everything is powers of 5. So we read this as 233 base 5. Don't forget to write that subscript. Let's look at another example. So here we have 231 base 4 and 23 base 4. So 231 base 4 would be 2 flats, 3 longs, and 1 unit. 23 base 4 is 2 longs and 3 units. Add, and that gives us 2 flats, 5 longs, and 4 units. Now in base 4, 4 units make a long. So I exchange my 4 units for 1 long, and there are no units left because 4 minus 4 gives me 0 units left. Now I have 2 flats, 6 longs, and no units. In base 4, 4 longs make a flat. So I exchange 6 longs for 1 flat, and 6 minus 4 means I have 2 longs left. That gives me 3 flats, 2 longs, and no units. I write my answer as 320 base 4. Don't forget to write your subscript as 4 because we're in base 4. Now, let's look at some tricks for mental computation. So when we have mental computation, we're working addition problems here without using base 10 blocks or without using a paper and pencil. I'm going to walk you through the tricks, and I'll show you the steps on the screen. However, with mental computation, the steps I show on the screen, a student would be doing in their head. On your quiz, you're going to have to show work, so you will have to show the same steps that I show on the screen. Let's look at the first strategy for mental computation, adding from the left. In this method, we focus on place value, and then we combine the subtotals at the end. I'm going to start with the tens place. So 60 plus 30 is 90. Then I move to the ones place. 7 plus 6 is 13. And then finally, I add 90 plus 13 for 103. Now, as I mentioned, these steps would be done in one's head, but on your quiz, you are going to have to show me these steps. Let's look at another problem using the adding from the left strategy. Here we have 36 plus 36. We start with the tens. So 30 plus 30 is 60. Then we move to the ones. 6 plus 6 is 12. Add 60 and 12 together, and that gives us a total of 72. Our second strategy for mental mathematics is called breaking up and bridging. So we add the first number to just the tens in the second number, and then we'll add the units from the second number. Let's see how this works. So here we have 58 plus 27. So I start with 58, and I'm going to add 20 to that. So the 20 comes from the second number, and the place value of the first digit is 2, so that's where the 20 comes from. I have 7 more that I need to add, so 78 plus 7 is 85. Let's look at another example with breaking up and bridging. Here we have 76 plus 33. I start with 76, and I look at the tens digit in the second number. So 76 plus 30 is 106. Now add the units from the second number. 106 plus 3 is 109. Our third strategy for mental mathematics is our trading off strategy in addition. So here we're going to trade off something so that we have one number that's a multiple of 10, because multiples of 10 are easier to add. Now, if we add something to the first number or second number, as the case may be, to make it a multiple of 10, we have to also trade off or take away from the other number. Let's look at how this works. Here we have 67 plus 33. Well, I'm going to start thinking about this first number. This first number is 3 away from a multiple of 10. So 67 plus 3 is 70, a multiple of 10. Now, if I add 3 to the first number, I've changed the problem. So to balance it out, I take away 3 from the second number. 70 plus 30, for many children, is easier to add than 67 plus 33. 70 plus 30 is 100. Let's look at another example with our trading off strategy. So we have 67 plus 29. Now, many times we'll add something to the first number to make it a multiple of 10. But I notice that the second number is only 1 away from a multiple of 10. So 29 plus 1 is 30. If I add 1 to that second number, to balance my problem, I have to take away 1 from the first number. 66 plus 30 is easier for most children to add, and 66 plus 30 is 96. Our next strategy for adding mentally is using compatible numbers. So I want to think about numbers whose sums are easy to calculate. Typically, we think about multiples of 10. So here we have a string of numbers. Let's look for some compatible numbers, some multiples of 10. Well, 6 plus 4 is 10. 7 plus 3 is 10. 8 plus 12 is 20, still a multiple of 10. And 6 plus 4 is 10. So I have 10 plus 10 plus 20 plus 10, and don't forget the 2 3s. 10 plus 10 plus 20 plus 10 is 50, plus 3 is 56. Let's use compatible numbers with another problem. So here, 50 plus 50 is 100. 130 plus 70 is 200. 100 plus 200 is 300, plus 20 gives us a total of 320. Now in this problem, we've used compatible numbers. Our next strategy talks about making compatible numbers. Now this method is very similar to trading off, but rather than adding to one and taking away or trading off for another, we're going to pull our numbers apart to make our compatible numbers. Again, I want to look at numbers that make multiples of 10. So here, our instructions ask us to mentally add making compatible numbers. As I mentioned, the steps that I show, one would do in your head. However, you're going to have to show me the steps on your quiz in the show work boxes. So here we have 25 plus 79. Well, I know that 25 plus 75 is 100. Those are compatible numbers, easier to add. Well, I've used 75 of the 79. There are 4 ones that I haven't used. So I'm going to add those 4 ones. 100 plus 4 is 104. So again, I pulled apart 79 into 75 and 4. I added 25 plus 75 is 100, plus 4 more makes 104. Let's look at another example. Here we have 35 plus 69. Well, numbers that end in 5 are easy to add, so I'm going to pull apart 69. 35 plus 65 is 100. Well, I'm missing 4 ones, so I add 4 ones, and 100 plus 4 is 104. Again, what I've done here is I've pulled apart 69 into 65 and 4. I chose 65 because 35 plus 65 is 100. 4 more makes 104. Our next topic is estimation. Sometimes we need an approximate answer. For example, when I go to the grocery store, often I try to find the approximate cost maybe per unit of, say, 2 bags of chips to decide which bag of chips is cheaper. Or maybe I want to know how much money I might need to take with me to go get a hamburger, and so I estimate the cost of my meal. Another reason why we would use estimation is to help us decide whether or not an answer is reasonable. Our first strategy with estimation is called the front end with adjustment. So we look at our lead digits, assign them the appropriate place value, and then we adjust the total up based on our next group of digits. Here's how this works. So here we have 423 plus 338 plus 561. So 423, I'm going to think about that first digit. That's the hundreds place, so that's 400. 338, again, think about that first place, that's 300. And 561, think about that first place, that's the hundreds place, that's 500. 400 plus 300 plus 500 is 1200. Then I'm going to look for compatible numbers. Well, 38 and 61 make close to 100. Now notice I use the wavy lines here. The wavy lines mean approximately. 38 plus 61 is not exactly 100, but it is very close. So far I have 1200 plus 100, which is 1300. I haven't used the 23. I'm going to round 23 to 20, and 1300 plus 20 is 1320. This is our approximate answer. Let's look at another example. The first number is 474. We'll focus on the first place, the hundreds place, which would be 400. The next number, focus on the hundreds place. The first place is 200. And then we have 500 from the last number. 400 plus 200 plus 500 is 1100. Again, I want to think about my numbers that are compatible. So I think about 67 and 45. When I add 67 and 45, I get close to 100. Now again, this is not exactly 100, So I use the wavy lines, which mean approximately. So far, I have 1100 plus 100 gives us 1200. Now, I've not done anything with the 74 from the first number. So 1200 plus 70, I rounded 74 to 70, is 1270. This is an estimation. It's not the exact answer, but it does give us a pretty close approximation. Our next method is called grouping two nice numbers. So we want numbers that fit nicely together. Again, we're trying to make our tens or our hundreds when we're adding. So I start and I notice that 39 plus 64 is approximately 100. Again, it's not exactly 100, but we are estimating. 23 plus 32 plus 49, well, those are all approximately 100 as well. 23 plus 32, that's about 50. 49 is about 50, and 50 plus 50 is about 100. So 100 plus 100 gives us approximately 200. Let's look at another example. Here, I'm going to think about the middle numbers. When I add 275 plus 520, that is approximately 800. Again, not exactly, but close. Now, I've made a mistake on the PowerPoint. You'll notice your notes have 613, but the PowerPoint has 413. So let me change my number to 613 so it matches what you have in your notes. 483 is about 500, 613 is about 600, so 483 plus 613, 500 plus 600, that's about 1100. 800 plus 1100 is about 1900. Again, this is not our exact answer, we are estimating. Our next strategy is our clustering strategy. So look to see, do your numbers all cluster around a common value? In this example, notice that all 5 of these numbers are about 6,000. There are 5 numbers, so 6,000 times 5 is 30,000. In our next example, all of these numbers seem to cluster around 500. 500 times there are 5 numbers gives us 2,500. Sometimes rounding is an easier way for adding, and it gives us an estimation. Again, notice your approximately here, your wavy marks. That means that our answers have been rounded and are not exact. Think about your rules for rounding. 5 or more you round up, and less than 5 you round down. So let's look at an example. In 4,723, I'm going to round to the nearest thousand. So I'll look to the right of the thousands place, that's a 7. This is 5 or greater. So the thousands place rounds up to 5,000. In our next number, we have 3,192. I want to round the thousands place, so I'll look to the right of it, and I notice I have a 1. Well, this is less than 5, and so the 3 stays the same, and I get 3,000. 5,000 plus 3,000 is 8,000. Again, typically 5 or higher, we round up, so 4,723 rounded up to 5,000. 4 or less, we round down, so 3,192 rounds down to 3,000. Let's look at another example. In this problem, we have our hundreds place, so we'll round to the hundreds place for each of these values. In our first number, look to the right of the hundreds place is a 9, so 598 is going to round up. 5 or more, we round up. The next number is 624. I'll look to the right of the hundreds place. This is 4 or less, so we round down to 600. The next number is 438. That 3 is 4 or less, so we round down. 600 plus 600 plus 400 is 1,600. Our last strategy for estimation is going to give us a range. So here we'll make a low estimate and a high estimate. Make your columns for a low estimate and a high estimate. So low estimate will round every number down. 378 will round down to 300. Again, we're going with a low estimate. 524 will round down to 500. So our low estimate is 800. For the high estimate, we round up. So 378 rounds up to 400. 524 rounds up to 600. 400 plus 600 is 1,000. Our range here then is from 800 to 1,000. Let's look at another example. Make your columns for your low estimate and your high estimate. Remember, for the low estimate, we round down. So 364 rounds down to 300. 249 will round down to 200. 300 plus 200 is 500. For our high estimate, we want to round up. So 364 rounds up to 400. 249 rounds up to 300. 400 plus 300 is 700. And we have a range of 500 to 700.